Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today. My name is Lindsay Nichols. I'm the Communications Director here at Guides. I'm thrilled to be joined here today with Corbett Harrison and Christine Litch of Volunteer Hub. You can find a bit about their backgrounds here as well as their contact information, and we'll provide this detail at the end of the presentation as well. Here's my information, and I just wanted to go over a few housekeeping items. First, we're live tweeting during today's webinar, so please join us there. We're using the hashtag NPOTrust. Again, that's NPOTrust, all one word. We'll have some time at the end of the session to answer your questions, so you're welcome to submit them via Twitter or by sending your question using the chat feature. And please be sure to send your question to the host so Christine can see them, and she's going to moderate the discussion at the end. And one final note, Volunteer Hub will send you the PowerPoint and the recording of today's presentation in a few days. And there's also a document with all the links from today's presentation available on the meeting wall. If you look at the meeting resources section, there's a PDF that says how to spot a good nonprofit. You can download that for free. And also this will be on Scribd and we'll post to our YouTube channels as well. So please check back. So let's get to it. Today we're here to talk about how to spot a good nonprofit. That's a loaded topic because, as you all know, the discussion really isn't so black and white. And at GuideStar, we found that there is a spectrum of nonprofits. There are lots and lots of nonprofits that are doing really great work, but they don't necessarily have huge fundraising machines, so they don't get the lion's share of donations. And then, there's the opposite of that spectrum as well. So today we're going to discuss the role that trust plays when nonprofits are building relationships with donors, and particularly how nonprofits can use their own websites and impact data to help build that trust. First, a quick word about GuideStar. We're the leading source of nonprofit information, and our goal is really to encourage informed decision-making by providing high-quality data about and for nonprofits. As you can see here, we collect data in a variety of ways. We get a lot and most of our data from the IRS. We have information on every single tax-exempt organization in the country, which is a little bit over 1.8 million. But we also get it from the nonprofit themselves. We have a bunch of various nonprofit programs that help. 99% of our visitors to GuideStar.org use our data for free, but we also have a host of other products and services that help you analyze data and vet charities. So through our work, we come into contact with donors every day, and we're seeing a few themes emerge that I wanted to explore here. The first is that donors are really pretty savvy. They value transparency. They're more interested in ever than having a relationship with those organizations that they donate to, and they want nonprofits to work for their hard-earned money, and that's particularly true in this economy. And yet donors don't and won't do a ton of research before they donate or even support a nonprofit. So the result of these trends is that nonprofits have to be really smart about how they connect with donors, and they have to use every opportunity available to them for that connection. So last year we partnered with Hope Consulting to conduct research for a project called Money for Good. And what we found was that though most donors don't do any research, they do care deeply about impact. There are 5 pieces of information in particular that donors care most about. So those are financials, which is really the information supplied to the IRS Forms 990. Impact and effectiveness information. That's what we found to be the biggest unmet need in the sector. Donors want to know what progress nonprofits are making and what kind of plans they have for the future. Legitimacy is really important. We all know that the Pension Protection Act of 2006 was a game changer, and so donors do want to know that the nonprofits they're giving to are actually nonprofits and are legally registered with the IRS. They also care about the mission or the cause of the nonprofit. That's really important. It's the lifeblood of our sector, and it's the reason for all we do, of course. And then finally, donors care about kind of the basics of the organization, what communities they serve, whether it's local, national, international, what are their programs, what they're trying to do, where they're located, where they're headquartered, etc. So, stepping back a little bit, although GuideStar is commonly referred to as a watchdog, the truth is we're not. We know that donors come to the giving decision with a variety of values, so we want to display as much information as clearly as we can so that donors coming to us can make a decision about which nonprofits to support on their own without us making the judgment call for them. So as a result of that Money for Good research that we just talked about, we reformatted our nonprofit reports to display exactly this piece. And basically, if you go to GuideStar and you look up a nonprofit, what results is that nonprofit report. And you'll see here we have all the pieces of information that we know donors care about at the top. If we have the information, there's going to be a green check mark. If we don't have it, it's a yellow exclamation point. If there's a yellow exclamation point on your nonprofit report, we educate as many as we can. That is not meaning it's a bad nonprofit. It is just something to either complete if you're a nonprofit. It's something that you can give us to help us complete your paint the picture and tell your story. But it also could be something you need to investigate as well. So basically, this is one-stop shop to figure out whether the organization is legitimate, what their impact, what their mission is, what their financials are, reputation, etc. Through our GuideStar Exchange program, which I'm going to go into in just a second, we give nonprofits the ability to detail their volunteer needs in greater detail. So this is a great way to advertise your volunteer needs, how you use them, etc. So what does all of this mean, and how do you use it to build trust? After assessing the findings of our Money for Good research, GuideStar and Hope Consulting wrote a guidebook with tips on what nonprofits can do to build trust and engage with current and potential donors. So this new guidebook is titled More Money for More Good. It was just launched a couple weeks ago, and it's available to download for free. Just visit guidestar.org/moneyforgood. In the guidebook, we recommend, among other things, that nonprofits leverage their own online presence, their websites, their e-newsletters, emails, annual reports, etc., to better demonstrate their impact. So we know this can seem daunting, and where do you begin? I mean, it makes sense to us. It's tough to even know where to start. So we partnered with BBB Wise Giving Alliance and an independent sector on an initiative called Charting Impact. Charting Impact poses 5 questions that you see here to nonprofits, and the answers to these questions not only lead the nonprofit through a strategic thinking process, but the answers are bundled into a report that can be displayed prominently. Each report has a unique URL that can be linked to from a website, on annual reports, or social media, etc., and it's really the only kind of initiative that's out there. We're hoping this becomes the standard framework when nonprofits talk about impact, because we know we want people to be able to compare apples to apples. And although, each nonprofit is a unique snowflake, there has to be some kind of way to compare and even dig in a little bit further. And this Charting Impact, even though it's a series of questions and you are going to talk about it in a narrative, it is a concise way of talking about impact. So there's a lot of benefits to this. At the end of the day, we know that donors care about effectiveness, and we know that nonprofits can really make some headway when trying to establish themselves as a good, quote-unquote, nonprofit to donors and other stakeholders, so this is a method to do it. I could go on and on, but I'll leave it here and just encourage you to visit www.chartingimpact.org for lots of details. So I mentioned GuideStar Exchange earlier. I want to dig into that a little bit. We talk about that in our More Money for More Good guidebook. It's essentially a program where nonprofits can supply us with additional information above and beyond the Form 990 data we already get from the IRS. And it allows nonprofits to paint their picture, to tell their full story. It can tell donors and stakeholders what they're really about. They can supply additional financial information, an impact statement, information about their volunteer needs, as I mentioned before, and so much more. We then push that out to all of our partners, including donor advisors and foundations. So it gets you in front of donors, it gets you in front of funders, and every nonprofit has a unique GuideStar Exchange profile. So not only does it help with credibility and your online presence, but you can share your information with boards, it offers transparency, and it gives you a marketing boost to reach out to new supporters. So if you give us all the information that we ask for, we in turn give you the GuideStar Exchange seal. That's really become the symbol of transparency in the sector. And now you can add the GuideStar Exchange seal to your website with this simple-to-use widget so that donors can easily see and appreciate your commitment to transparency. In addition to the widget, you can display the seal in your print materials when you reach out to funders. We have a promotional toolkit, so you can literally copy and paste sample press release language, email, social media posts, etc., and you can get the word out widely about your transparency. And, of course, we have discounts to products and services and other benefits as well. So there's no charge for becoming a GuideStar Exchange member. You just have to go to GuideStar.org, and in the middle of the top of the page, you'll find this yellow Update Nonprofit Report section, and there's step-by-step instructions to walk you through the process. So, again, I could go on and on about this topic, but I'm excited to hear from Corbett, so I wanted to just encourage you all to go to GuideStar.org/moneyforgood, download the free guide today, and connect with donors and really make the most out of your first impression. And again, if any of you have any questions or concerns, you're welcome to submit them here. And I, of course, will be available by phone or email, and that'll be at the end of the presentation. So, Corbett, it's all yours.
So thank you to everyone for joining this afternoon. My name is Corbett Harrison. I'm the Vice President for Business Development at Volunteer Hub. And I want to thank Lindsay for sharing how GuideStar can build trusts with individuals researching nonprofit organizations. In this portion of the webinar, we'll review how to make a great first impression and engage people once they're on your website. To begin, this may seem very basic, but colors, font, and content placement are highly important, and sometimes focus is lost as perhaps someone new takes over the website project or multiple people are publishing content simultaneously. But remember to pick 2 to 4 colors for your template and ensure they are consistent with your branding. Also, keep headers and paragraph fonts consistent throughout the entire site, and make sure you select fonts that are web-friendly and easy to read. Here is just a nice, clean example of one site design that makes the content very easy to digest. And be sure you're making it easy for your visitors to quickly see relevant information about your organization. So reduce the amount of page clutter. Provide clear navigation is key to building trust and delivering conversions. And don't be afraid of white space. In many cases, less is often more. And another great way to engage visitors is to provide current information. And you can do this by embedding a variety of different applications. So in this example, the organization has embedded the latest news, which is pulling from their blog posts, and Facebook. So you're getting new, fresh, relevant content frequently. Too often I hear nonprofits mention their conversions are very low when they've invested a great deal in online tools to help. Many times I find that it's really due to a lack of emphasis or placement on the site, or perhaps being buried 4 or more clicks deep within the navigation. And I think this stems from sometimes we're just often too close. It's important to take a step back and try and think like a first-time visitor to your site, and really start with the end in mind. What actions are you trying to drive people to take? In this example, the organization has 4 clearly defined areas they're trying to direct traffic to. Each visitor might have something different in mind, but they're doing a great job of even highlighting this using color, images, to really direct the attention to the respective area. Something else to note, when you're building your site, don't assume everyone is using Firefox or Internet Explorer. Presently, Chrome is the most utilized web browser, so you want to ensure your page will properly render and function in all 4 popular browsers. And you also want to test your site in both the Apple and Android mobile browsers, because the user base is growing dramatically in both of those areas as well. Content is one of the most critical initial pieces of your site, as it's what will be indexed by the search engines. So you want to ensure your site communicates your mission, but also provides content individuals are actually searching for. You can add to what search engines are seeing by perhaps adding relevant subpages. Blog articles are another great way to enhance your content. And there's free tools that can help you better understand how these search engines are seeing your content. Google's got a great tool that will scan your site for particular words or phrases, and then returns a result set that indicates not only monthly searches for the terms, but level of competition within the marketplace. Now, all that said, it's important not to stuff your site with keywords and make sure your content appears natural for the respective page. Now, there's a variety of tools you can use to engage your audience. Video is probably one of the most powerful options at the moment, and we'll cover more of that on the next slide. But other things that you can do is embed social media tools to pull your latest posts, as we showed on an earlier slide. Same for blog content. You really want to promote that current information about your organization and make it easy for constituents to find links to these desired conversions. Again, whether that's donations, volunteer opportunities, signing up for email newsletters, etc. And as I mentioned, video is one of the most powerful methods to deliver content. And according to TMG's Engage blog, 53% of people conducted a search for more information through video. And with this increase of available content and those watching videos, it's important to note that you have a very small window to capture their attention. Approximately 20% of viewers leave within the first 10 seconds or less. After 2 minutes, you've lost over 60% of your audience. So it's critical to quickly communicate your value and attract the viewer's attention. And when we're talking about embedding these different objects within your site, you want to make it obvious where to find the information on the page. So provide easy access from the page headers and footers. Consider adding visibility from the home page, again, as in the example that we showed earlier. And in this example, you can see the organization's done a nice job of embedding that information in the header to find their various social communities. And when you're evaluating content management systems or CMSs to build your website, look for one that provides integration for these tools. For example, I know WordPress offers a variety of widgets to really make this plug and play. And you also want to focus on being nimble yet consistent with your message. So in your planning process, you want to establish who's going to own this content internally and be responsible for publishing it, and then define who's going to monitor all the various outlets, so not just your site but the social media communities, to ensure you have alignment and brand consistency throughout all of your messaging. And one final point I want to make in my portion here is that given the growth in online donations, it's also important to promote ways for individuals to give online. Just as other calls to actions, make it easy to find and simple process to complete for your supporters. Now, you also want to ensure that the vendor you select has integration with other systems so you can share information. I've listed a few examples that we work with today. I realize there's many others on the market. But again, just something I wanted to leave you with as you do evaluate these types of systems. I would like to thank everyone for joining us this afternoon. At this point, I'm going to turn the presentation over to my colleague, Christine Litch, so she can talk more about best practices for using online volunteer management systems.
All right, great. Thank you, Corbett. I'm going to be touching on something that Corbett mentioned in his previous slides, and that's the idea of volunteer management and how using a volunteer management tool can build trust for your organization. In addition, today I'm going to explain what to look for when choosing a volunteer management tool. So is your organization missing out? Do you know that there are 31% of nonprofits using an online volunteer management tool? And 25% are planning to adopt the system soon if they haven't already. So are you part of that 25%? Some ways that volunteer management tools can build trust is that it can show that you're active in the community. By allowing your volunteers to see an online calendar through your website, it allows them to easily sign up for opportunities that you might need volunteers for. And it allows volunteers to browse and register online, so you trust your volunteers enough to pick opportunities that you have available and to collect the information online from the volunteer. And it also adds another way for stakeholders to connect. So those large groups, sponsor groups, that you might want to sign up for larger events, they can easily navigate to your website and see that there are opportunities for their corporation or their groups to sign up and help volunteer for your organization. So what to look for when purchasing a volunteer management tool? There are some suggestions I would like to make when deciding on what volunteer management tool you want to purchase. The first is to use a solution that alleviates your workload. It's really important to make it easier on yourself. So allow it to have self-registration so that the volunteers can register online, create their own accounts, and fill out what a normal application would ask for. Have self-sign-up and cancellation, so not only can the volunteers sign up for an opportunity, but they can also cancel if they can no longer attend. Have automatic communication, so maybe automatic email reminders, confirmation, and then possibly a thank you email. This allows your volunteers to be notified, and it alleviates that phone call and email traffic back and forth you would have if you didn't have automated communication. Waitlisting is a great option if the volunteer management tool that you're looking at has a waitlisting feature. That will alleviate your workload in trying to find replacements. Again, group registration, so allowing the volunteers as groups to sign up for opportunities. And possibly an on-site check-in, so when the volunteer arrives, you can collect their hours automatically by checking them in on maybe a tablet device or a smartphone. You also want to maybe look at reducing paper. A lot of organizations are going green these days, and having an online volunteer management tool allows you to reduce the amount of paper waste. So allow your volunteers to fill out that application online and include things like required questions that you really need answered by the volunteers. Ask about skills and interests so you know who to contact when there are upcoming events that you need specific volunteers to sign up for that are maybe skilled or interested in that area. Even include those waivers that you would generally pass out and have them sign and give back to you. You can now, in some of these volunteer management tools, include those waiver forms that you would normally give out as a paper copy. And then manual email generation is also good, so you can email people through the system. Instead of sending snail mail to remind people about your organization, you'll be able to send emails through your volunteer management solution. And then finally, RSS and iCal feeds. These are two options to actually notify your volunteers of new opportunities by automatically populating in their RSS blog feed reader or their iCal feeds. Those would populate in their own personal calendar so that they can be notified each time there's a new event within your organization that they can sign up for. And then finally, make sure it's user-friendly. You always want to make sure that the tool that you're using for your volunteers is really easy to navigate through. There are a few clicks that they have to make, that there are areas that you might have to put instructions on how to use the tool. There's an example down here below where this is a volunteer management tool that includes a welcome greeting and possibly instructions to have the volunteers review before signing up for opportunities within the organization. You might also want to have the ability for them to or for the tool to be able to change its look and feel so it matches your website, so it doesn't feel like you're going from one site to another, that it's streamlined and it looks and feels like your organization website. So now I would like to open it up for questions. if anybody has any questions, please enter the questions in the control panel under the chat section, and I will monitor that and ask the questions and then facilitate it to whomever I think should be able to answer that question for you. So are there any questions at all? Maybe it would be easier if I unmuted the line, and if anybody has any questions, they can speak them out. Let's do that. Does anybody have any questions?
So if there are no questions, we'll go ahead and conclude today's webinar. Christine, if you would switch over to the contact slide. And you can feel free to reach out to any of us directly. Again, my name is Corbett Harrison with Volunteer Hub. All of my connection information is on the screen, and Lindsay Nichols with GuideStar as well. Again, feel free to email or reach out to us through any of the various social media outlets. Again, I'd like to thank everyone for attending today, and don't hesitate to contact us.
Yeah, thank you so much, everybody. I see we have one question now.
Oh, we did. We did have one question that came in. So let me read the question. How much of a role does social media play in an organization's online presence for donors and volunteers? Lindsay, I'll take the first stab at this. I think it really varies depending on a few things. Number one, the organization, the mission, and also, two, how large of a community you've built within social media. We've seen it become more prominent over the past few years. But at the end of the day, again, it comes down to how much engagement and communication you have with the audience.
I completely second that. I feel in a lot of ways, it's one big pot. Your Facebook followers, for instance, aren't segmented by, just donors or just volunteers or, just other stakeholders. But at the same time, they can be your biggest evangelists. So I feel like they have a pretty high potential to really connect with you that way. But it's not always an easy way to drill down and get to their core values.
One other thing I'll mention too, Lindsay, that just came to mind. I've worked with a lot of organizations in the past that expect this. They put an investment of work into establishing Facebook, for example, and assume that donations are going to flood in through that outlet.
Yeah.
Really, I don't think that's the purpose. It's more meant to build a community, get them vested in visiting that, finding more relevant content frequently, and then on occasion you can sprinkle in the message and drive them to your website if you want them to become involved with a volunteer opportunity or fundraising event or opportunity.
I couldn't agree more.
Any other questions? Okay, if there's no other questions, again, I want to thank everyone for attending, and again, don't hesitate to contact Lindsay or myself.